We have lots to discuss here in today's video, including all kinds of offseason trade speculation. Tonight we're looking at the New York Rangers and the Anaheim Ducks. Both completed a trade today, and both are expected to remain active and could make several other moves. Plus, we have some updates on the Montreal Canadiens, as well as some other teams looking at free agents like Sam Bennett and Brad Marchand. Both players will have a big market this offseason. We'll discuss the latest on those front. Plus, we'll recap the trade that happened earlier with Chris Kreider going to Anaheim. We have some more award winners to take a look at. And, of course, preview Game 4 of the Stanley Cup Final going on this evening. All that coming up next. Welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we have lots to discuss here in today's video. Let's first get started with a preview, if you will, of Game 4 going on tonight. By the time this video hits YouTube, the game is likely already going to be underway. But it's a huge game in the Stanley Cup Final tonight. We're either going to have the Oilers come back and make this series 2-2 and have it a best out of three for the remaining games for the Cup, or the Panthers are going to take a stranglehold 3-1 lead, and it's going to be one major swing or the other. Could be a major, pivotal game. At the end of the day, it is what it is. The Oilers are making some lineup changes tonight. Stuart Skinner is remaining in net, which I think is the right call. His starts in Game 4 have been phenomenal. His Game 4 stats include a 6-0 record, a .955 save percentage, and a 1.26 goals against. Now, I know some people might think that's random or just pure fluke or luck, but if I'm Edmonton, I'm feeling pretty good about Skinner. And to be honest, that last game was a real stinker for Edmonton. They got embarrassed. I don't think that was on Skinner, to be honest. I think the team in front of him really had a bad night all around, and they gave him a little bit of a breather. He had a chance to reset. They got Pickard a little bit of action in case he's needed. And I think it's the right move going back to Skinner. Victor Arvidsson is out in the forward group. John Klingberg is out on the blue line. Jeff Skinner goes in place of Arvidsson in the forwards, and Troy Stecher, who actually played pretty well earlier in the playoffs when he was in, goes in for Klingberg. Klingberg certainly had a really rough game in Game 3. I think there was a few rough moments in Game 2 as well. They're just not moving the puck quick enough. They're creating way too many turnovers in their defensive zone. Florida is really forcing them to make mistakes, and that's played a large role as to why Florida was able to come back and win Game 2 and why they were able to take such a commanding lead in Game 3. The Oilers need to change some things, and I think having Stecher be in there, maybe be a little bit quicker with the decision-making and outlet passes and things will be hopefully a better opportunity for the team to correct that. I mean, at least earlier in the playoffs, he was doing pretty well with that stuff. So we'll see if that makes a difference. Also, a different opponent this time. You get him as much as the Panthers or as much as the Oilers played bad. You have to give Florida a lot of credit for how well they played at the same time. So if Edmonton can kind of get the puck moving more and get their speed going more, they're a much faster team than the Panthers. You could probably argue there's a higher end skill too. Obviously, they don't have a Draisaitl or a McDavid on the Florida side, but they do have a really good team, and they have lots of guys that are willing to do everything it takes, and as well as some snipers and pretty good skill guys too, but not to the level of McDavid and Draisaitl. So really, it's two different styles of game. Whoever gets to their game first is probably going to have a better chance to win, and obviously the Oilers are looking for a huge bounce back here tonight. A few other news and notes around the league today. The Seattle Kraken announced they were parting ways with another coach, Bob Woods, and it was let go by the team. Of course, Lane Lambert became the new head coach in Seattle over the past week and has continued to evaluate and make changes. And we have another change in Seattle. So Bob Woods will not be returning. They've already let go of a few other coaches there. So obviously Lambert leaving his mark on his staff. We did get as well the remaining award winners in the NHL tonight. Of course, the NHL just wrapped up as I record this video. Their award special that was on ahead of tonight's NHL Stanley Cup Final game. Of course, most of the award winners we already knew as they released those videos of what they're trying to create with those viral moments periodically over the past week or so. And of course, we found out earlier today that Anze Kopitar of the Los Angeles Kings had won the Lady Byng for the third time in his NHL career. Braden Point was second. Jack Eichel was third. We did know that one from earlier. And then on the award show, the only awards that we did not know was the Vezina Trophy and the Hart Trophy, and both of them went to Jets netminder Connor Hellebuck. So he cleans up the hardware with a tremendous season. I know the playoffs didn't go the way he wanted by any means. Very much a roller coaster up and down. and he needs to figure that out for the long-term success of this team in the playoffs if they're going to have any chance to win a cup someday. But certainly the regular season was absolutely crazy. Good for him, and it certainly deserves the acknowledgement with both of these awards. Some other news as well. We have another player leaving the NHL for Europe, and that's Swedish goalie Magnus Helleberg, who hasn't really had a good time establishing himself in the NHL. He's been largely an American Hockey League goaltender with some spot duty in the NHL, bounced around with a handful of teams over the past couple of years, but he's had an opportunity to go back and sign a 3-year contract with the SHL. He's already into his later 30s, so I suspect that Helleberg's time in North America probably is over. I suspect that 3-year deal likely takes him to the end of his career. Now, as a rumor that we had talked about a couple days ago, a Chris Kreider trade to the Ducks became official today. So, of course, it was on, today is Thursday, I believe it was Tuesday night, we got word that there was a trade that was getting close. A rumor had surfaced that Chris Kreider may be heading to Anaheim, and they were waiting for Kreider to officially sign off on the trade because he did have some protection in his contract, which allowed him to block, I think it was 15 teams, although the belief was that he was going to approve it, that they had already spoken to him before they got too far along in the process, but he still needed to take some time and think about it and make his official final decision, which came this morning. So Chris Kreider is now officially done with the New York Rangers and off to join the Ducks in Orange County, California. So clearly Kreider will go down as one of the Ranger greats. Had a phenomenal career during his time there. Obviously last season's numbers were not where he wanted them to be. Obviously age is maybe playing a role. Injuries certainly played a role last year. He's got 2 years left at $6.5 million. The Anaheim Ducks took the full contract. They have oodles of cap space, so it's a risk that they feel like they're able to take and makes sense for them to insulate their young players with a veteran like Kreider, who's got a lot of playoff experience, a lot of great accomplishments throughout his career, that he could be somebody they can draw experience from and be, just add a new element to their team. He still skates relatively well. A big part of last year, I think, was not only injuries, but I think with everything going on with the team, I think it's fair to say that a few of the veterans, maybe more than a few, their heart just wasn't completely in it. So we do expect the Rangers to continue to be busy here. Kreider is likely going to be, at least if the Rangers get their way, the first of a few dominoes to fall here throughout this 25 offseason. The Rangers are kind of hoping at this point that they'll be able to convince Mika Zibanejad to also waive his no-move clause. Now, he's got a different clause in his contract. He has a full no-move, whereas Kreider had moved into a modified no-trade. So it's a different scenario. But as a few of the insiders have said, if Mika Zibanejad doesn't want to play ball, he probably needs to be thinking to himself, look at Barclay Goodrow, look at Jacob Trouba, and now look at my good buddy Chris Kreider. This team, if they want me gone, they are going to find a way, and they're going to get me. So they're kind of hoping he'll be like, okay, I'll play ball here. Here's some teams that I would be willing to go to. He's still a player like Kreider that I think will generate some interest. Now, his contract might be problematic for some teams, of course. So we'll have to wait and see. But the Rangers are certainly very much actively trying to figure out if they can find a trade for Zibanejad as well. The core group of this team is no more. It's going to be a completely different team. I think the new core is going to be centered around JT Miller, Vincent Trocheck. Hard to say who else, to be completely honest. Adam Fox is probably in that group too. There's other names that are out there besides Zibanejad in the rumor mill. We've heard that there's a pretty good chance K'Andre Miller gets traded. We heard that Alexis Lafreniere's name is certainly out there. Doesn't mean for sure he gets dealt, but I think they're having some buyer's remorse or second regrets, if you will, on that long-term contract they signed him to last year. Last year wasn't a great season for him. And I think they're having second thoughts. But again, you have to be careful with these things. Sometimes players just take a little longer than some to get it figured out. He was the first overall pick. They've invested a lot of time with him. To give up now, unless it's a phenomenal return that you just can't refuse, might not be the best idea. But we'll have to wait and see. But his name is out there. There's 100% confirmation by enough NHL insiders that he's involved in conversations. How much of that and will it lead to, it's kind of difficult to say, but the Rangers are definitely not done. There's also speculation around the Rangers that this newfound cap space that they have from the Chris Drury contract now being off the books and not taking any money back. I mean, obviously they get a prospect and a pick that was swapped. Essentially, the Rangers get a prospect that's maybe not as high likelihood to hit the NHL, and they get to move up 15 spots in the draft this year between swapping a fourth rounder for a third rounder. But the big thing here is that they have extra space to do some other things with. And a bunch of the NHL insiders today made mention that they very well sound like they might be heading towards maybe doing an offer sheet. And a lot of them think that they were really, really high on J.J. Peterka of the Buffalo Sabres. Now, we know the Sabres, from what we've heard from some insiders, that they don't really want to trade Peterka. All the rumors from Peterka being possibly being a trade piece this offseason, I think mostly are coming from his side of things between his agent and like their side of the business here. I don't think there's anything from the team suggesting that the Sabres want to trade Peterka. He's young, he's talented, and he has star potential. Why would they want to trade Peterka? He's anything but part of the problem in Buffalo. But the speculation is, from what we've heard, is that he's not happy there and that he may want to move on. And there's only so much they can do about it. And at this point, he needs a contract. So if they don't want to trade him and he's unhappy, they might have to be cautious here about an offer sheet. And if he doesn't want to sign with the Sabres, let's say, and I'm not saying he won't, don't mistake what I'm saying, but if he decides that he kind of wants to force his way out, that could be a way to do it. So I don't know if he'd want to go to the Rangers, but there's other teams out there looking at this situation as well. I don't know what the dollar figure it's going to take to get him to go. Obviously, you're probably going to have to overpay to make sure the Sabres don't match it. But it is what it is. So it's a good possibility here that the Rangers might jump into this offer sheet kind of category. Now, the Ducks, on the other hand, who obviously picked up a veteran today, and Chris Kreider, according to some, including Jeff Merrick, say they're not done either, and they still have all kinds of cap space. Like, they had over $30 million in space before the Kreider trade, so they're going to be making more additions. Merrick says that he expects the Ducks to be pretty much involved with all the big names. Now, of course, nobody expects them to land everybody. They can't do that within reason. But, are they going to be talking to Mitch Marner assuming he hits free agency in July 1st? Yes, you can count on the Ducks being one of the teams that'll be in that lineup to talk to Marner. Are they going to talk to the Dallas Stars about Jason Robertson because he's rumored to be on the block? Yes, expect that to happen too. Now, it doesn't mean they're going to be successful in getting all these guys, but the Ducks are tired of losing. They are feeling pressure from ownership, I think, to move things along and get back into the playoffs. And I expect Pat Verbeek to be very busy. Brought in a new head coach in Joel Quenneville. This is the first domino to fall here, getting Chris Kreider. And like I said, there's going to be other moves, no doubt. Some other players there that could be moved in Anaheim, and there's certainly more people that they want to bring in to make that team better. So just expect the Ducks, pretty much any big name that's involved in the trade market or the free agent market, they're going to be checking into it to see what they can do because they want to add a couple of more big pieces. And I think that, they probably understand that you're not going to get them all. You kind of have to be involved in a variety of things and kind of see where things fall and see what you can do. But the Ducks expected to be very, very busy this offseason. Now, another trade piece, as far as rumors go, could be Montreal. We know that, according to some, I know Elliot Friedman has made mention on a couple of his radio hits that he expects the Habs to be very busy, and everybody says the main kind of deal they're looking for is a number 2 center, which I've been saying all along as well makes a lot of sense. Looking at how that team is structured, I think seeing that they got a glimpse of Ivan Demidov at the end of last season, and he could be a very special player. If they're smart, they need to find a running mate for him. They have their first line that you would probably prefer to leave together. You've got Suzuki, Caulfield, Slafkovsky. Now, I do think there's probably still some concerns over Slafkovsky. I think his consistency is a big part of that. But for right now, you're not going to give up on your former first overall pick from a few years ago. You did sign him to a big contract. You need him to live up to it. But, for right now, you're going to continue to work with him, I would think. But you got Demidov too, right? He comes a year later, and very talented special player, but you need the proper centerman for him. So that's going to be the big focus. You've got Jake Evans, you've got Alex Newhook. They're not really the right fit. That's why I also kind of wonder about the future of Patrick Laine, because I'm not sure that Laine and Demidov really are going to jive. I think they're probably going to end up trying it, have them be the two wingers on line 2 with a new centerman that they hopefully can find through trade or free agency or what have you. And then from there, they'll see how things shake out. But I don't know that Laine has a long-time future in Montreal. I'm not real sure. We'll have to see about that. But then you get some other pieces for the bottom half of the lineup that, like Newhook and Evans and Gallagher and Anderson will still be around a little bit longer and kind of so forth from there. But we'll see. That number 2 center, I wonder, though, based on what's out there and what's available for trade, could maybe be Marty Necas. Now, there's a lot of talk in Colorado that Necas isn't real thrilled about being there. And we don't really know what it's going to take to make this guy happy. That's why I talk about this with a little bit of caution, because as much as he's a great player, he's got a lot of speed, decent size. I think he could be a great fit for the Habs. He could be a great fit for a lot of teams, but we know he wasn't happy in Carolina. We know he supposedly isn't thrilled with the setup in Colorado. So what is it? What is it that he needs to be happy? Because he may not be happy in Montreal either. Obviously, he's entering the final year of his contract. I would think, considering what's gone on with this player, nobody's going to probably want to acquire him without discussing the framework of an extension and kind of confirming that he'd be interested in doing that. So we'll have to see where things go. But I think there's lots of things to like about the fit. There's lots of things to like about the current contract, the style of play, what he brings, and all that. But will he want to be there longer term? That's the big question. So we'll have to see, but I do think there's a possibility he could be a player they're looking at. Now, another team to watch when it comes to a lot of these young restricted free agents that might possibly be on the move is the Calgary Flames. We do have reports today from some NHL insiders suggesting that the Flames are interested in a few of these guys. It could be big players, whether it be via trade or maybe even offer sheets. You never know. Peterka was another name that came up for Calgary as well. I do think the Rangers might have an edge on them, but at the same time, Marco Rossi is another name to watch when it comes to the Flames. Obviously, we know the Wild are very likely to move him. I don't think that it's going to be an offer sheet situation when it comes to Rossi, but the Flames could certainly use another young player like him. I think that makes sense that they'd have interest, so certainly keep your eye out for the Calgary Flames being in the mix here for some of these top young restricted free agents that could find themselves on the move, and it sounds like Rossi and Peterka are the main two on the radar right now. As far as a couple of the UFAs, there's some that think that maybe there's a chance Sam Bennett doesn't re-sign in Florida, although most feel the general consensus out there is that he will re-sign with the Florida Panthers. There's been some word that the progress, you could call it, on an extension has been progressing, and they're getting, I'm not sure how far away they are from getting a deal done, but they've made progress lately. Things are trending in a positive direction. I don't think it's going to take $10+ million for him to stay in Florida. I think he understands and acknowledges that this is just the perfect spot for him. He's a good fit as a player. It fits with the way they play and everything. He may not duplicate that success somewhere else. It's hard to say. But if he does it for agency, one team to watch, according to some, is Utah. Utah definitely is looking to make somewhat of a big splash. And I don't know if they really want to give up a ton of trade assets, but there's a lot of word around the NHL that they really like this player, really, and who wouldn't? Really. He brings a whole new element that a lot of players don't have, and would help them, any team, win in the playoffs if he continues to play that way. So Bennett's going to, is going to have a lot of options. There's no doubt. I still, if I'm a betting man, I'm saying he probably stays in Florida, but we'll see. That could be a team to watch. Brad Marchand, on the other hand, I know some believe that the Toronto Maple Leafs might stand a good chance to get Marchand as UFA. But I know Chris Johnson was saying today that he feels that there might be a bidding war for his services. Considering what he could not get for a contract out of the Bruins to remain there and finish out his career, there's belief now that teams are probably going to have to pony up possibly as much as at least 3 years, maybe 4, and maybe even have to go north of $8 million. The way he's playing in the Stanley Cup final and throughout the playoffs, he's showing that he's not slowing down, and he's still very much a very important player. I mean, if the Panthers win the Stanley Cup, I would think he's got an excellent chance to win the Conn Smythe Trophy. Definitely will go down as one of the best trade deadline acquisitions, and I'm not sure maybe ever, or one of the modern history for sure. I mean, a lot of times players get picked up at the deadline and it, minimal effect, or it's nowhere near this level. He's produced very well. I mean, again, this is another case of the whole LTIR issue going into the next CBA talks. We know there's some conversations going around about how to close that off so that teams can't use it. But ultimately, Matthew Tkachuk sat out a long stretch, but he came back for the first game of the playoffs. That's what allowed them to add Brad Marchand. If that wasn't a rule and they had to be cap compliant to some degree in the playoffs, they wouldn't have Brad Marchand. And to be completely honest, the Florida Panthers are a heck of a team. But are they where they are right now without Marchand? Tkachuk is clearly still injured. He's not been what he normally has been. Sam Reinhart has not been as good as he normally has been. Barkov's been as good defensively, I think, but not offensively. Really, if it's not for Bennett and Marchand, I don't know that they're where they are. They've scored a high percentage of their goals. So that pickup at the deadline was massive, and his value has just gone through the roof. So if Toronto really wants Marchand, and I think that there's some to believe they do, they're going to have to pay through the nose for it. So it's going to be interesting to see how things play out, but he's certainly not hurting his value at all with this strong play here in the playoffs and again in the Stanley Cup Finals. So let me know your thoughts on all of today's news and rumors in the comments. We'll discuss further. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We'll keep you up to date with all the news, rumors, and analysis of all 32 NHL teams. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.